All right, so the things I want to share real quick, I underlined specifically today. I didn't underline much throughout the week, but I didn't expect to underline much on the fear of judgment page, but as I was reading, it really made me reflect back to when I first started. And also a lot of the conversations I'm having as I'm mentoring a coach, or even challenging one of my clients to post their result pictures or to talk about their experience. There's a fear of judgment in a lot of people. So this chapter was really good, just as a reminder for me of some of the key points I can touch base with on a new coach or a client when they're struggling with any of those things. But I was really reflecting back on it this morning, because today, by the way, is my 12-year anniversary of signing up as a coach. And so like I was really reflecting back on that first year. So some of the things that I wanted to share from this chapter, I'm going to touch base on a few of them if you guys don't mind. Right at the beginning of the fear of judgment chapter, he was talking about working with his therapist, about the relationships that he had and the way he was in relationships and how he showed up. And he was talking about how he would always try to buy peace. Like when there was stuff going on in his relationships, he'd like buy flowers or a special gift to try to create peace inside of the relationship. And I underlined, you can't buy peace, you have to be peace. And it was just, I was just thinking about Gabby's in my relationship. We'll be married 17 years this year, this summer. And I was just thinking about whatever we get in little squabbles or whatnot, it always is corrected when one of us, whether it's her at one point or me at one point, decides to just keep the peace and realize that whatever we're fighting about, it won't matter next week. Like even in 2 days, whatever the little thing is about won't matter. So you have to be the peace. Another thing that I really underlined is, I'm going to read it. It says, you see at these pivotal moments, and he's talking about stress, a breakup, being fired from your job, like anything big. It could be in your business as well. The ego tells you that you're not enough because someone hurt you. You'll never amount to anything. You're not worthy. You're afraid of failure. You're afraid of success. You're afraid of other people's opinions. But the ego is what can block you from the flow of abundance. And then he goes on, what I learned from those moments is to keep telling myself, and then I like box this out. Soon I'm going to have hindsight. Soon I'm going to have hindsight. A year from now, I will have learned a lesson from this experience. I will be stronger. I'll have more humility. And in 6 months, a year, or 2 years, I will be on to something else. People will either move on with me or move out of my life. And I really underline that ego is what can block you from the flow of abundance. So I love that. It's like I have underlined, I squared out like the soon I'm going to have hindsight. And that can relate so much to not just our business, but in your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with a customer or a coach or whatever it might be. Because in my 12 years, I've definitely had people on the team that have hurt me, recruited to other opportunities, all kinds of different things. And it's like, soon I'm going to have, like, once I got through it, stayed true to the mission, focused on my own transformation, my own mindset, helping other people get results with their programs, helping other people get results in their business. You know, a year later, for example, I recruited an incredible coach. I did a Getting Started Right call this morning. I had hindsight from things that happened in the past. And like, I had those discussions with him. This is what I expect. This is what we can do. This is what we can't do. So I was able to take my experience in the past and teach it, you know, in the present as I'm building my team into the future. So I love that. Hi, Michelle, I see you hopped on, and Lacey's hopping on as well. So I'll let them in. Man, I could talk all day, but now that we got a bunch of people in here, I'm going to let you guys start sharing some things. But a couple of other things, you know, I'm a Christian, and we have the 10 commandments up by the front door. And one of them is we do not worship false idols, right? And I boxed this in. There's a guy named Dan Millman who says, I think he is right. He says, we might as well create a little idol called other people's opinions and worship at an altar every day, because that is how so many people live their lives, all because they need the approval of others to define their reality. And I was like, holy crap, that's like a powerful, deep way that I never looked at it. If you're putting so much attention on, let's say you have, God has, you have all the potential from God, his love, he created you to be like him, to grow into this incredible human. But how much time do we focus on? A lot of people focus on that versus what are they going to think of me if I talk about my business? What are they going to think about me if I mention that I can sell a product to them that can help them with their needs? I think so many times we are worshiping, he's like putting that as like an idol, and we spend so much time thinking about that. So that was a powerful reminder for me. I underlined another part that says, don't let them, this is talking about critics, take your power back. So I'm going to invite any one of you guys that might be held back by other people's opinions or what they might think about you to take your power back and stop handing that power over to them, to those people. There's so many things I want to share, but here's the truth about critics. People will judge you no matter what you do. If you sit on the couch and do nothing, people will criticize you. If you chase your dreams, people will judge you. Either way, you are being judged, so you might as well go for your dreams and do the things that you love most. So that's going up as one of my all-time favorite quotes. I've had people, for example, in my business that criticized me, bashed me on social media. There was even a Facebook group that I found someone sent screenshot. It's not about Beachbody, any multi-level marketing, network marketing sales. And I was in there, and it was from a friend from my hometown. And I'd helped this person lose 80 pounds, helped mentor them in hitting Success Club over 24 consecutive months. And there was stuff that they put in there about me. And though I don't know what the whole thing was about money. It was like, this guy calling me this guy, I'm actually was your friend, but it was like, this guy, started this out. He loved the workouts. He wanted to make $10,000 so that he could bring his wife home from work. And I was cool with that. But then all of a sudden it became all about money, and he wanted to pay off his house and get investment properties. And so I was being criticized because once I hit a goal, I didn't stay at that goal. And I had the desire to keep growing. So people are going to judge you no matter what. So don't let them take your power. So, that person or anybody in that group, I just ignore it. Like, they don't pay my bills. They don't raise my children. They don't they don't help the people that I help. So take your power back, and there's going to be critics no matter what. So there's a little of my life experience in my I have a lot of experience I could share, being my 12-year anniversary today, but that's one experience I'll share with you is they don't pay your bills. Critics don't. Take the power back and do what you love most, because they'll criticize you no matter what. So who else wants to share? Don't be shy. I'm opening up the chat. Okay. Matt shared some things. Matt said, we think of hindsight as wish I had known, but this mindset says in the moment that regardless of outcome, now what you will learn from it. So I love that, Matt. By the way, those that just hopped on that are planning on going to the Success Club trip next year, we are picking the coconut wave. It's the first wave. So please pick that wave when you get your invite so that you don't end up there a few days after us. It happened last year with a couple of our coaches, and it was like such a bummer to not hang out with them. Matt, I see you're unmuted. What do you got for us, brother?
Yeah, I was just going to go ahead and share. It's actually from reading here recently, but the passage from the book was stop comparing yourself to others. Instead, compare yourself to the version of you from the past. When you compare your present self to who you were in the previous month or the previous year, you'll see all that you've accomplished. Then you can acknowledge those improvements and set new goals. The key is not to improve because you aren't enough. You improve because you live in a growth mindset. So there were a couple of major takeaways for me personally from there. So first and foremost, from a physical standpoint, whenever I've been focused on my, physical transformation for a long time, going on 11 years now or something like that, whatever it is. And I've had a lot of success, but even in the down times, or in the cycles that I've gone through, it's easy to forget what we've accomplished, and it's easy to be looking at other people or looking at results that other people are getting, and being disappointed that that we're not there, or that, how did I let myself get here? Those types of things where, if I just look back and not only the goals that I've achieved and the things that I've been able to accomplish, but the fact that I've been able to do that for as long as I have and maintain it and continue on the path that I'm on. But then, from a coaching perspective, still not comparing myself to what other people have done or haven't done, but comparing myself to, looking back and comparing myself. I am where I'm supposed to be. I am where I am because of the work that I put in or the lack thereof. And so I think but the big takeaway there for me at the end was the key is not to improve because you aren't enough. So not to improve or get better because I'm not enough, or because I'm not where I want to be, or because I don't have this other thing that somebody else has, but I improve because I live in a growth mindset. I improve because that's what I've been called to do, because I've been given skills. I've been given a passion in my heart. I've been given this great community and so many people in my life to have an effect on that. Because of a growth mindset, that's why I'm improving. That's why I want to grow and set these goals. And out of that goal, out of that mindset, I can set those goals accordingly. But it's just that reflection on the mindset of why I want to grow, why I want to be there. And so it was a pretty big takeaway for me. Really enjoyed this chapter. I've never been one that necessarily cared so much what other people thought, or I haven't necessarily had a fear of failure. So, we went through a couple of the fears, and then we got to the self-doubt, and all of a sudden that kind of hit me in the face. I'm like, well, fear of failure, I'm good. Fear of success, nah, I really don't fear success. I want to chase after it. I want to be successful. And then I hit this self-doubt chapter, and that one really kind of caught me off guard and threw me off. And so I've always been confident in what I can accomplish when I go do it, but then I do catch myself in these moments of self-doubt, and that's when I start to pull back, start to disappear, and it's just a pattern that I've seen. And so this has really helped me reflect on that and go back to my goals and my visualizations every day, and really looking forward to moving forward.
We're excited to see you move forward, brother. I love that you are aware of that, so you can recognize it, and instead of slipping back, pushing through it and growing through it. Awesome. I love it. Anybody else want to share anything? See, Juliana hopped on. Lacey's with the pup. Michelle, you're welcome to share.
Yeah, I haven't read all of the what I need to read yet, so I'm a little bit behind this week. It takes me longer to read hard copy books than to listen to them, and I got it hard copy. So but interesting what Matthew just shared, and I'm looking forward to getting to that part of the book, because I've been kind of struggling this week with, I don't really have a transformation because I hit my transformation a long time ago. And I've just maintained it. So I was looking back today, like, what can I do? What can I celebrate? So it's interesting that we have this coming up, and I'm looking forward to reading it because I found my smile. And going back from 2016, I smiled, but I wasn't really smiling, like just my lips were moving, in the picture. And then as I'm scrolling through the years in my Google Photos, and I just like randomly stopped and grabbed a photo, scroll, stop, grab a photo every 2 years. And the progression in like visible happiness in my pictures was absolutely like eye-opening to me. And so I posted about that today because, I'm just always looking for like, what can I celebrate today? And so, because that self-doubt thing is huge for me. So that's really cool that that's a chapter coming up. I'm looking forward to reading it.
I think it's really cool that you went and found that and shared that, because that's absolutely a win, like your overall happiness increasing as you go. By the way, this is a book we should read in the future, Happiness Advantage. But what I want to remind you of is from the book that we just finished reading. It's always important to continue telling our founding story, our product story. So even though like my transformation's far in the past too, from when I was never had abs and 40 pounds overweight to getting in shape for the first time in my life was 13 years ago now. And so, I'm not one to put up a new before after picture every 6 months. So there's not that story continually happening. It's teaching people a healthy lifestyle and then remembering your founding story, right? Like I actually don't want to see someone that has a before after picture 10 years ago, gains the weight back, has another before after picture and they can share it again. Like I want you living that healthy lifestyle for the long term. And I think people need to see that as well. So remember your founding story, both for joining the company and why that was important to you, and product story, like how these products transform your life, and just continue to tell those stories. I know in our head, it's the self-doubt thing again, or the criticism, where we're going to be like, why would I can't keep telling that story because people have already heard it. They're going to get annoyed with it. That's exactly what this chapter is talking about. But we need to continue telling that. It'd be like Nike, or that example of the gum and the commercial that we watched. Like they tell that story once and then never aired that commercial again or took it off YouTube, right? They just aired it on TV once and then it's done. No, they're going to continue telling that story or using that story to connect with people. So remember that, Michelle, as you're going forward with that. Can I share a quick example? So Gabby was reading something. She's created an awesome habit of reading her scriptures every morning. She's doing kind of a 75 hard, but it's not 75 hard. So she reads her scriptures every morning. She reads, she drinks her water, reads personal development, does her workout, and then does a walk. And she's been so consistent. And then we read a book together at night. We finished our second book last night. So she's like a reading machine right now. So she's always sharing ideas that she's seeing. And one of them that she posted was, and this, we're going to go to page 93 with this. It was like last week, she posted this thing and then I shared it from her page. It was like, it's easier to earn $10,000 than it is to save $10,000. And I was thinking about that because, we're building this out. Right after I'm done with this call, we're going to go meet with our interior designer and have all of those conversations we haven't had yet. And we have our budget, our line item budget. We're in the process, the loan's almost done, but there's things that we've thought of outside of that we want to do. And so immediately at first, I'm like, okay, where can we cut back on things to add those things in? Right? Like I want a heated driveway on this big circular driveway. I don't want to go out and shovel. It'd be awesome if I just woke up and it was like a black, wet driveway and it's like snows everywhere, but it's like cleared. And I'm like, calculate the cost. I was like, oh, I don't know where I could cut that out. And then immediately I thought about Gabby, and that was last week, Gabby's little post. I was like, it's easier to earn $10,000 than it is to save $10,000. So my mind immediately, and I'll read this quote, this chapter's verse, this, what is it? Not a chapter, paragraph. There we go. I was thinking about it and I was like, I'm just going to earn that extra money. I'm not going to think about how I can save somewhere else to fit it in. I'm going to earn, like, it'll take 2 years before the house is done and I need to put that driveway in. It's not going to be a loan. I'm going to earn that extra money instead of trying to save it. And it's crazy that when our mind does that, when you start focusing on how can I earn X amount, all the solutions start to come, right? And so here's, I'm going to read this to you. It says, we consciously lodge a question into our forebrain. Our brain immediately begins to come up with answers. I do this experiment with people in classes I teach. I say, just take a moment. I'll give you 30 seconds to answer this question. How can I double my income in the next 30 days? Anything that pops into your head, write down on a piece of paper. And then they start to generate a list. Then I say, I don't care what the answers are. I only care about how ridiculous the answers are. How many answers did you come up with? I usually get 3, 4, 5, and sometimes even 7 or 8 answers. Why? Because they launched a question in their forebrain. Whatever question we lodge in our forebrain, our brains will begin to answer. And by the way, this book is like all about that, by the way. Happiness and success is about this one paragraph. Whatever question we lodge in our forebrain, our brains will begin to answer, but often we do this the wrong way. We ask, why am I so bad at this? Why does this stuff always happen to me? Why are these people out to get me? When that happens, our brains begin to answer those questions, and some of those answers are as ridiculous as the answers that someone raised about doubling their income. So I think that can apply, like I mentioned how I can apply that to us building this house. Instead of saying, where can I save money, where my idea is now going to be not in abundance, it's going to be like trying to save and minimize this so that we can have this. When I changed the question to, how can I earn enough extra? My brain was immediately like, okay, I have 2 years. The loan will be closed. All that money's used. I have 2 years to earn all the extra income I need to lay my sod, put in the driveway that I want to put in. Like, I don't have to worry about trying to save. My brain began to thinking of all of the options. And I was like, 2 years, I have all of the time in the world to build this team, to build tons of team volume, to help other leaders build their businesses, and we won't have to worry about it. Right? So see how your brain answers those questions when you do that? And I think that's so powerful, because if you're a new coach or you're a struggling coach and you're like, why are people ghosting me? Why, maybe you sold 2 challenge packs and they didn't follow through with their workouts. Why don't these people that I signed up, why aren't they as committed to this program as me? Why aren't my coaches doing the business activity tracker like I am? Right? If you're posing all of those questions are in your forebrain, you're going to come up with all the answers. People are lazy. I'm not a good leader. If I was more organized, I could be able to help them more. Your brain is going to come up with all of the ridiculous answers. So instead, we need to be more careful about the types of questions that we ask ourselves. How can I get to 1-star diamond by the end of the year? How can I hit Success Club 10 monthly? How can I help my coaches stay more committed to their business activity tracker? How can I help my new coach earn their money back to pay for their product? See how these questions are so much different? So I think that's I absolutely loved that, because I've seen in my life how much that has benefited me. And I fall short where I start asking the wrong questions as well. It's happened in my relationship too. Not just in business, where we start asking the wrong questions and we get all of the ridiculous wrong answers. So like that one's like double circled, double underlined reminder, ask intelligent questions. And I think Tony Robbins talks about that a lot too. Cool. So Matt, I know you and I have had a lot of conversations about what you want to do with your business. So I want you asking yourself those questions. How do I do this? How do I get to diamond before the end of this month? How can I recruit the next whatever coaches I need? How can I help my next emerald go emerald in the next week? And then as you do that, your brain's going to come up with the solutions to make that happen. Cool. Love it. Matt says he's on it. Cool. Anybody else want to share anything?
I will. So it's interesting. I think I talked last week about how my brain kind of divides some of this into my normal day-to-day and then my business. And
Yeah.
so like in my typical day-to-day, I'm pretty confident. I don't know that I really worry about what people think about me. It's very weird that I draw a line like that when it comes to my body business, that I seem to be a little more worried about what people think on that side. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how to, I'm working on pulling from my everyday life to equate that to how I feel about my business and things like that. So that was one thing that I got out of the judgment chapter. The self-doubt chapter hit me pretty hard too. It's also more of a business thing. I've typically been pretty successful doing anything I tried hard at. And there's something there's a block there that I have self-doubt about being successful with the business. And it's again where I think I need to pull from that feeling with everything else and bring it over to the business side of things, and know that if I just work at it, just like everything else that I've tried hard at, I should be successful at it, or I will be. And it's being able to blend those two things together, I guess. And so those are the two of the things that stuck out for me a lot were the judgment and the self-doubt, and how I don't have it on one side of my life, but I do on this other side, and I need to try to draw from the side where I don't have it.
Yeah. Well, I want you to know you're not alone in that. Everybody probably here could raise their hand and be like, I've felt like that before. So you're definitely not alone in that. And I think, like anything, the first thing is like you recognize that you there's a block there. So once you can recognize that, that's when you can take those steps forward. And you know, like you said, pull from your regular job, any past experiences you have of being successful. What does it take to be successful? And then apply it over on this end. Right. One of the things that, so just, this is my personal, I think my personal experience. I came out of the gate really fast in this business with solid belief. And I think there's a couple factors of that. Number one, I did the workouts and followed the meal plan solid for 1 year. Like my first workout was in May of 2010. I signed up in April. I'd done P90X from start to finish 4 times. So I knew that if someone followed the meal plan, did the workouts, that their life would change. Their energy would come up, their self-confidence would grow. So there's this unwavering, incredible belief about that. So I think that's one factor on starting without self-doubt, is I had an unwavering belief. Number 2, I had watched successful coaches for about 8-9 months. Like at the time they were Wayne Wyatt, Josh Spencer, Melissa McAllister, Lindsay Matway, all of the, you know, Trina Gray, all of these coaches. I'd watch them and I was like, just by observing them, listening to their team calls, I was watching the national wake up call, or listening to the MP3 of the national wake up calls. And I got to a point, you know, before I signed up where I was like, if they can do this, I can do this. Kind of similar to what you're saying. If I know that I have the ability to be successful in things in my life. So there came a point where I was like, if they can do it, I can do it too. There's no hesitation. If it's possible for somebody else and multiple other people, then it's definitely possible for me. I think that was the second one. The third one was having the experience of being a missionary and learning a new language, knocking doors, trying to talk to people in a different language and share a message with them, invite them. And I mean, if someone would let me in their door, in that first appointment, I was inviting them to get baptized into our church. In the first, if they let me in their door, I shared a message, we'd have conversation back and forth, we'd read some scriptures, and I would invite them to get baptized. Now, however, they had to take time to investigate, you know, learn, come to church, all of those things. But I was inviting people to give away 10% of their income, to stop drinking alcohol, coffee, tea, get baptized, all of these huge life changes. I was inviting to something huge, and I did that for 2 years straight. So when it came to doing body coaching, me inviting somebody, with going back to step number 1, having full belief that these programs would change someone's life. So for me to tell someone, buy a box of P90X DVDs for $120 and a bag of Shakeology for $120, and I'll support you, your life will change. It was not a big ask for me. Like I had no doubt in my mind that I was what people might be thinking, like scamming people because it's a pyramid scheme, all of those haters and critics, which was in that section as well. I didn't care about any of that because I knew that if they did it, their life would change. Right. So there was that unwavering confidence in that as well. And I think that was probably the third third huge thing that gave me that self-confidence to go after it. And then the other thing I did as I started is I listened to Think and Grow Rich, Millionaire Next Door, The Slight Edge, and Craig Holiday's 90 Days of Excellence on repeat during my 12-hour shift. And The Slight Edge was on a burned disc in my car, but the other ones were on my little MP3 phone, and I listened to them 12 hours a day. So I heard story after story from The Compound Effect, Millionaire Next Door, Think and Grow Rich, and Craig Holiday's 90 Days of Excellence, of people that went from having almost nothing to living these incredible lives. And like, I listened to it over and over for like, so I knew with no doubt that if all those people as well could do it, that it was possible for me if I just followed the steps. So I know that's kind of a lot of advice, but I think those are some huge pieces for me that helped me go out of the gate, ignore the critics, and just go for it. I absolutely loved 90 Days of Excellence by Craig Holiday, because like Craig, like when people tell stories, you relate with them. Like, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. Craig Holiday played baseball. As he told stories, he talked about this business being the sweet spot, like the sweet spot on a bat. And I was just like, man, if this guy, Craig Holiday, could do this. And he'd tell stories about how he was giving his first presentation and sweating all over he had like one of those, what do you call those? Where it's like a truck, has 3 legs and paper on it. He'd do like home parties, and he's sweating, trying to explain the compensation plan. And he rolled up in his beater car. They parked down the street. And I was like, man, if this guy can do that, build this business like that, like I could do it. And I have the power of online. And I legitimately remember he was with Amway. That's where he had his network marketing experience. I was like, if he could do it with toothpaste and cleaning supplies, like I could build a business like the one that he built with health and fitness. Does that make sense? Like, so I just created all of these stories and these things that helped me believe that it was possible for me by watching everybody else do it in different areas, the personal development books, the national wake up calls, watching the top coaches do it. And Craig Holiday doing it with Amway. He talked about when he got to his six-figure business. He talked about when he made his first $1 million year. And I was like, I would listen to it and I'll be, that's going to be me. That's going to be me. It wasn't like asking the bad question. Like he said, I was like, how can I get to that point? How can I do X, Y, Z? How can I relate like this? So just asking those right questions and then taking massive action. Cool. And Juliana says she just started listening to Craig Holiday's stuff that I sent her a while back. I'm pumped about that. Cool. So Jeremy, long story short, take those skills and gifts you already have and just massive, messy action. Like I'll give you an idea. Like it doesn't have to be perfect, and it never will. Like Lindsay commented on my post today, like my superpower is just consistency. Like I did a getting started right call this morning with my new coach, Nick. He teaches live classes, like headset on, like live classes. He sent me a video the other day and he's like up there like, and he's got like people working out behind him. Like that's not me at all. He comes from another network marketing company, and they had so many more like structured, planned out things. And on our call this morning, like I was just confident telling him like, I don't have that. Like my gift is just taking massive action on connecting with people, helping them get results. And I was like, sure, there's people on the team that have organization, like my upline, Lindsay. You can hop on their Zoom call, their power hours. And he's like, oh yeah, that's what I need. And so I was able to direct him to that, but I didn't, to give you an idea, Jeremy, and anybody on here, I didn't have to be that person. Like I could just use my gifts and talents, which are seeing something, having a vision of seeing something, breaking down like, okay, what do I have to do to make that happen? And then just executing every day on it. That's all my gift is. And so use the gifts that you have that help you be successful in the business that you have, and just apply it to this and know that, whatever it is that you might be lacking, naturally, that to build this business, there's people on the team that you can lean into for that stuff. Cool. Who else wants to share? Michelle's listening to Les Brown. He always pumps me up. Eric Worre's awesome too. Cool. Anybody else have anything you want to share? And I probably do need to end like 10 minutes to the hour today because I do need to get changed and take off to that appointment today. But anybody else want to share?
Thanks, Gary.
What's
Can
up,
you hear
Lisa?
me okay? Because I know with
Yeah.
this headphone, nobody can hear me, so I took it out.
Yep.
I was just thinking, like, when Matt was talking and Jeremy, I was like, oh, I'm so envious that you guys don't care about what people think of you. Because that's a big thing that I struggle with. And I know I need to change that, and I need to just not, that's going to be, you know, a hurdle I have to overcome. So, but I really appreciate that you guys can just share and not worry about that. And it's something that I'll keep working on.
Yeah, I want you to ask yourself, just like that chapter taught, what things can I do to help me not worry about other people's opinions? And ask questions like that so that your brain will come up, because you're a genius, Lacey. Lacey and I went to high school, by the way.
I'm not a
She's one of my
genius.
first customers ever. So yeah, I want you to ask yourself those questions. And I think with anything that might be holding, whether it's holding you back, Lacey, the fear of what other people might think, or judgment, or criticizing, like the thing that like stabs me in the soul the most is getting a year down the road or 2 years down the road and having the same conversation with whoever it might be. Like I had one with one of my good Latino guy friend coaches, and I was like, bro, we've been talking about this for 8 years. Like, it's time that you like fix this, like move past this, because I don't want to have this conversation in 2 years. And I know you don't either. So that would be my advice, Lacey, is be like, just set up some things for you that like trigger you, whatever it is, to be like, I don't want to be worried about this when, you know, next year, or by the time I turn whatever age, and just kind of draw the line and then ask yourself those questions so you can move past it. Can I give you an example from my daily life?
Sure.
Outside of coaching? Lacey knows me in person. Like sometimes she comes and visits her parents and we go to the same church at the same time. I'm not the outgoing guy that runs up to you, Lacey, and says, how you doing? And gives you a hug, right? I'm like just quiet with my family, most likely not talking to anybody, stand up from the pew, walk out, go to my class and teach the little kids. Like, I'm not a converser, right? And I found myself, I go to the local gym and like, and I told a story, I won't rehash it, but there's some things I discovered through some therapy in my childhood that I don't feel comfortable making friends with men and talking to guys. And I never knew why, but I kind of discovered why. And I was like, it was just a realization. That's where I say, like, Lacey, you just got to have some sort of realization, some sort of moment where I was like, I was even feeling that with my daughter's friends that are coming over that are 16 years old. I went and sat down with a 24-year-old kid that's selling pest control to talk to him about this business and our supplements. And I found myself like fidgety and not confident with a 24-year-old kid that's just starting his own business. And I have 12 years experience. And I was like, I just went home from those and I was like, what in the heck? I was like, dude, you're 41 years old. Like I had to like talk through that with myself. You're 41 years old and you lack confidence in talking with even a 24-year-old kid, or having a conversation with a 16-year-old teenage boy that's hanging out with your daughter. And I was like, it was just like making that decision. Like, I'm done being like that. That's so, like, I was literally just had a conversation with myself. Like, that's so stupid that you feel insecure or not confident talking to these people. So I set myself a small goal, and it was to say hi and have a small conversation with at least one new person a day when I go to the gym. And the cool thing, I've recruited 2 coaches from that, and I have great new guy friends that I'm building relationships with, doing Asylum and doing these workouts with. But at least it really came down to just making that decision. Like, it was me just talking to myself, being like, dude, you're 40 years old. Like, it's kind of ridiculous that you are insecure in talking with even like young 20-year-olds or teenage kids, let alone people your own age. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's not like really anything I can tell you to do. It's just like, you kind of have to have that conversation with yourself, like that reality check, and be like, whoa, And I had that thing, I had some issues, some vices that I was working through. And the same thing happened. The thing that broke me, because I always tried to set goals. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this, or I'm not going to do this or feel this way. And I would do it. Like I would make it like 2 weeks and then I would do it again. And it was never ending cycle. And then you feel guilt and shame or whatever. And then finally the thing that changed it, I was like, the same kind of conversation. I was like, dude, you're 40. Like, I don't want to be on my deathbed at 80 and be like that. I never conquered that thing, that vice. Right. Like, that's like, I'm not going out like that. I'm going to fix this now and for good. Like, I'm not going to wait any longer. So I think same thing will apply with worrying about people criticizing you. It's just have that conversation with yourself, draw the boundary, and then just start taking some small steps.
Okay,
Cool.
can do.
The other thing too, Lacey, that I've been doing, because I had even just a family member say, nobody cares about your stupid workouts, quit talking about them. And this was my cousin. And I was like, whoa, that was hurtful. Right. So then I had to sit with myself and go, is it true? And, in your head, you're like, maybe it's true. You start doing all that stuff. And then I had to ask myself, was there a time that this wasn't true? And then I'm like, yeah. And then you look at your customers, your friends, whatever, and there's a lot of people that tell me how I inspire them and that it makes a difference in their life. So no, it's not true. And I'm not going to accept that as truth for me. And then you just let it go. So I asked myself, is it true? And is there a time when it hasn't been true? And then I move on. Maybe that will help you too.
Yeah, that's actually a really great way to think about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's perfect. Yeah, we get to create our own truth too. What's good for us, what's not good for us. What makes us happy, what doesn't make us happy, and so forth. So cool. Well, we're gonna wrap this call up today. I'm glad you guys came. At first it was Jeremy, and I was like, Jeremy, you're gonna get a one-on-one today. Well, then you guys hopped on, so I was stoked about that. So anyhow, let's if you haven't caught up, just keep reading along. No need to feel bad if you get behind or whatnot, because I think even if you're caught up or not, there's still a ton of value you can get from coming and hearing from each other's experiences and whatnot. So thank you guys. We'll see you on the next call next week, and keep crushing your workouts, your nutrition, and working on your business activity tracker. Okay, we'll see you guys later. See you, Jeremy. See you, Lacey. Bye, Michelle. Bye, Matt.